Shalom, everybody. We haven't done one of these in a long time. A Q&A Breslov class on Breslov perspectives. The topic today, the question today, what are the Breslov customs and attitudes in these 3 weeks, these special 3 weeks of Bein HaMetzarim from the 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av? First of all, a person should get accustomed to the various halachas in these 3 weeks, as there are things which a person stops doing on the 17th of Tammuz. There are things on Rosh Chodesh Av, and there are things, depending on your custom, on the week of Tisha B'Av. Okay, so a person should get accustomed. What has already started from the 17th of Tammuz is dancing and festivals and weddings and stuff like that. So now it's interesting that the Breslov custom is, even from the 17th of Tammuz, every morning and evening after Shacharit in the morning and after Arvit in the evening. So all year round, the Breslovers dance. And if you go to a regular Breslov minyan all over the world, they do what's called a Rikud, a dance after Shacharit and Arvit every morning. What about the 3 weeks? So from 17th of Tammuz until Rosh Chodesh Av, they continue to dance, but they like walk, heavy walking, and if you want to call it, or movable walking, to a phrase which is found, it's a verse found at the end of Tikkun Chatzot, the section called Tikkun Rachel. It's a verse, it's about a consolation about the future. Ki nicham Hashem Tzion, nicham kol chorvotea, vayasem midbara, ke'eden ve'arvata, kegan Hashem, sason v'simcha yimatze ba, toda ve'kol zimra. The verse translates as this: Ki nicham Hashem, for Hashem will console Zion, Tzion. Nicham kol chorvotea will console all of its destroyed parts of Yerushalayim. V'yaseh midbara, and Hashem will place, instead of its desert, make it a Garden of Eden. V'yaseh midbara le'eden. V'arvata, and the plains, the empty plains, lands, kegan Hashem, like a Garden of Hashem. Sason v'simcha yimatzeba, joy and delight will be found within the section, the walls of Yerushalayim. Toda, giving thanks to Hashem, v'kol zimra, and melodies of singing to Hashem. So the tune, the Breslov Nigun, I'll sing it to you guys. It sounds funny, but I'll sing it. Ki nicham Hashem Tzion, nicham kol chorvotea, vayaseh midbara ke'eden, v'arvata kegan Hashem. They do that twice. And then after the second time, kegan Hashem, aha, sason v'simcha yimatzeva, toda ve'kol zimra, sason v'simcha yimatzeva, toda ve'kol zimra. So this is what the Breslovers do after Shacharit during these 3 weeks until Rosh Chodesh. After Rosh Chodesh, it stops totally. For 9 days until after Tisha B'Av, they go back to singing it right after Tisha B'Av, right before breaking the fast, or after, right after Arvit, they again do this dirge. It's a dirge. It's like a consolation. It's not upbeat, it's slow, and it's a type of a walk, a dance, if you want to call it. Because Allah says you're not to dance. So what do? It's not considered dance. It's done as part of the davening. The reason why they dance, because dancing is one of the ways to mitigate harsh judgments. So since these 3 weeks are considered a time of judgments, technically, so this is done as a type of in-between devotion. It's part of the davening procedure of the morning and evening prayers, okay? That's number one. Number two, the attitude. What is the attitude of these 3 weeks? The attitude of these 3 weeks is best expressed by Rav Nosson in a prayer, which is recited by many Breslover Hasidim in these 3 weeks. It's set aside really any time of the year, but these 3 weeks are very special for saying this prayer. The prayer is from Rav Nosson's Book of Prayers. In English, it's been translated as the 50th Gate. In Hebrew, it's called Likutei Tfilot. Section 2, Prayer 33, which is based on a very powerful lesson from Rabbi Nachman, lesson 67, part 2, which deals with the death and concealment of the tzaddikim. that the tzaddikim are those who give life and inspiration for the Jewish people to continue while in exile until Mashiach comes. That's why the Gemara says that the death or the hiddenness of the tzaddikim is twice as tragic, twice as severe, twice as tragic as the destruction of the temple. You hear this? The Gemara says this, that the passing of the tzaddikim is harder for the Jewish people, twice, double-fold, more than the destruction of the temple. What in the world is going on? So the thing is, it's very simple. The tzaddikim are the beacons of light, reflecting the light of the temple. The temple was the light to all of Am Yisrael, and the ones responsible for maintaining that the light of the temple should continue to the Jewish people were the tzaddikim. The Torah they revealed, the Torah they taught, going out to enlighten the Jewish people and following Hashem. This is what gave life to the temple. If the Jews don't follow the Torah, the temple was destroyed. So too, the tzaddikim we lose out on the tzaddikim. So what is all this trying to tell us? In these 3 weeks, it happens to be in the summer months when people just need a vacation, the head is not working properly because the heat gets to people, everything is laid back. So the time of the year indicates that already, that people are just out of it. I'm out of it, out of davening, out of the learning, out of fear of heaven, out of emunah. People are just out of it. It's vacation time, right? On a deeper level, we are exposed face to face with the feeling of what it is to be alone without a tzaddik. You want to know what it is to be without a tzaddik? How are you feeling in these 3 weeks? You feel empty, you feel alone, you feel, God forbid, futile, hopeless, you feel out of it, out of things, you feel so weak in your devotions and your emunah and your shamayim. All this is happening to let you experience what it feels to be without the light of the tzaddik. And that, in fact, all year round, whether you know it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, you are functioning with the assistance of the tzaddikim. This is like what Rabbi Nachman says in his Aleph Bet book, the Sefer Midot. Rabbi Nachman says a very powerful statement. He says there in the Aleph Bet book, the Jewish people are unto the tzaddik like a quill in the hand of a scribe. The quill in the hand of the scribe is the Jewish people. Who's controlling the scribe? The tzaddik. Just like a scribe controls what the pen is writing, he determines, right? So too the Jewish people are in the hands of the tzaddikim. Meaning what? The tzaddikim have a power, have a capacity to enlighten and direct the Jewish people. And when there's a lack of that direction, there's a lack of that instruction and that feeling that you are part of something, that you're doing something beneficial in life. When there's a lack, it's because the connection between you and the tzaddikim has been severed. Whether you know it or not, most people, Rav Nosson writes clearly, are unaware from where their energy comes from to get up in the morning, to go to daven, to be able to serve Hashem, to be connected to Judaism and Emunah. People think, oh, it's me. I invested. People think that. But commensurate to the darkness of exile, it shouldn't be. There's so much darkness that the little bit of good deeds that I do don't match the darkness, even though there's a rule that a little bit of light pushes off a lot of darkness. But when it comes to my own personal light, it's still not enough to push off the darkness of this exile. It's not enough. You need the help of the tzaddikim. So all year round, whether you're aware of it or not, whether we're talking about tzaddikim who are physically alive, or tzaddikim who've passed on and continue to enlighten the Jewish people through their teachings, or, as is a big thing in Judaism, their graves, the graves of the tzaddikim, by people constantly going to their graves, it always arouses their merits and their light to be activated in the world, believe it or not. All this is true all year round. Now, in the 3 weeks, we're given a glimpse and a feeling. Let's now remove this from you and let you feel how it is to be all alone without this. How is it to feel to be without a light and an inspiration in my Judaism, in my emunah, in my yirat shamayim, in my fear of heaven, in my simcha? Okay, how is it to be without? Why is it necessary? This is necessary in order for you to begin to appreciate, recognize, and recognize the importance and the advantage and the benefit of needing the tzaddikim. So during the 3 weeks, this is the attitude. We're mourning over the temple, but more than the temple, because again, like the Gemara says, it's a Gemara and a Midrash, that the death of tzaddikim is twice as severe as the destruction of the holy temple. You're given to taste this in these 3 weeks in order that you should daven about it. You should come to recognize it, say, hey, things are down and low. So you can, or blame yourself, oh, this, and it's not for me. And then you can, or blame yourself, or say, wait a second, this is a national calamity, a national tragedy. Everyone's going through it in 3 weeks. Proof is the halacha, the Torah, the sages require all Jewish people to go into mourning state, mourning, M-O-U-R, mourning state in these 3 weeks. It's not like a personal thing. It's a national experience. Why? In order for people to wake up and realize how much they need the tzaddikim in their life. To tell people how much I need the temple, okay. The temple is something which is hard to connect to on a daily basis because it's something that was standing 2,000 years ago. We learn about it in the Parsha. We learn about it in the Torah. It requires me a lot of my imagination to connect. But on a daily basis, on my daily connection to Hashem, where I do begin to recognize tzaddikim, Torah teachings that give me life and enthusiasm, that talks to me much more, that's more connected to me. So then, when that is taken away from a person, that is more tangible. That I can relate to more, and this is what we cry over. It is highly, highly recommended to see Rav Noson's prayer. I remember, I think the BRI, the Breslov Research Institute, on their website, I think they gave a free download of this English translation of this amazing prayer. It's one of the most moving prayers that Rav Noson wrote. When Rabbi Nachman revealed the lesson on this prayer, it was in the week of the passing of Rav Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, 1810 really, 1809, sorry, right before, a year before Rabbi Nachman passed away, approximately, a bit less, the Berdichev Rabbi Rav Levi Yitzchak passed away, and Rabbi Nachman gave this lesson as like a eulogy of the passing of the tzaddik. The prayer is in a format of a eulogy, but it makes you begin to feel this gap. He says there, for example, there's a wording that the tzaddikim are our prayers, our Torah, our lifeline, our light, our simcha, our consolation. Everything was through the tzaddikim because of what they revealed to the Jewish people. So this is the attitude, if you can say prayer 33, a custom which is common by not just Breslov, but by the world Jewry, it's from the Arizal, that every day from the 3 weeks, of course, except for Shabbat and Friday afternoon, where no tachanun, where no sad prayers are recited, the custom is on every regular weekday from Sunday to Thursday, that afternoon time, to take approximately about half an hour to cry over the destruction of the temple and the death of the tzaddikim. So, for example, the Chida instituted for people to say the first part of Tikkun Chatzot, the midnight lament, Tikkun Chatzot. The first part is called Tikkun Rachel. So many have the custom of reciting Tikkun Rachel. What is suggested is to juxtapose, to add this beautiful prayer 33 as part of your recitation so you can feel it. After noon, it's like a time where it's like the sun is shining full force. It's summer, number one, the sun, and it's a time of burning, of feeling exile in a spiritual sense also. So it's a propitious time to express the pain of your heart, all the built up pain, which has been built up because you feel alone in life. You feel so far from Hashem. You've done the wrong things because you feel alone. You feel like, just like the Jewish people, as soon as they saw as soon as the like Rashi says, when they made a miscalculation of Moshe coming down from the mountain, and the Yetzer Hara, to fool the Jews, made an image of Moshe Rabbeinu's body floating in the air, as if to say he died. So the Jews went nuts, and they made the golden calf, and they said, Nitna Rosh v'nashuva mitzrayma, let's find another leader to replace us, and go back to Egypt. We don't know what happened to Moshe Rabbeinu. And Rav Nosson uses this thing to show you that the connection to Hashem in every generation is through the leaders, through the tzaddikim. Here, look, as soon as the Jews started getting frustrated and confused, Moshe Rabbeinu is no longer here, he's no longer here. So The first thing they did, golden calf. What in the world? What does the golden calf have to do with the miscalculation Moshe Rabbeinu didn't come down? Wait a little more. No. When a Jew feels he's lacking leadership, automatically he feels there's no connection to Hashem. Just like the Midrash says in Yalkut Shimoni and also there various other places, the verse that we say every morning in Shirat Hayam, in Az Yashir Moshe of Shacharit, Vayaminu Bashem of Moshe Avdon. The Jews believed in Hashem and Moshe, his servant, right? That's before we say Az Yashir every morning in Shacharit. So the Midrash, Yalkut Shimoni says like this, on this verse, this is Yalkut, this is a Midrash, this is like ancient Torah, this is not a Hasidic Avort. Whoever believes in Moshe Avdo automatically believes in Hashem. And whoever does not believe in Hashem, does not believe in Moshe Avdo, then you should know he doesn't believe in Hashem. You hear this? If you don't have Emunah and Chachamim, Emunah and Tzadikim, which is fundamental to Judaism, fundamental to Torah, fundamental to believing in yourself, to have self-confidence even in life, you need Tzadikim in your life. You need the light of Tzadikim shining their insights to connect you to the Torah. They know how to navigate the Tzadikim. They know how to take the vast world of the Torah and bring the various parts and components to shine that light into you, B'ezrat Hashem. So this is what we're made to experience. And the advantage is, whoever mourns over the temple and the death of Tzadikim, Lasum, the verse promises us that Hashem says, Lasum la'avele Tzion pe'er tachat efer. Hashem says, I will place for those who mourn over Tzion, which also refers to the Tzadikim, pe'er, glory in place of the efer, their ashes. In other words, in place of all the painful expression that you felt and that you expressed it, whether in dirges format, whether in hitbodedut format, whether in crying format, if you manage doing that, Hashem will turn it into pe'er. You will have pe'er, which means glory. You will feel the glory of your Yiddishkeit even while still in exile. Because it says whoever mourns over the temple, and again, by extension, the death of Tzadikim, will be zoche to see it's being rebuilt. How do you explain all the Jews who lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, who mourned over the temple and they passed on and the Beit Midrash is still not here? How do you resolve that with this statement from the sages? Whoever cries over the temple was zoche to see its building. So there's two explanations. One is say, well, they didn't daven enough, and I'm not going to have the chutzpah to say that about our predecessors from 500 years ago were much more tzaddikim better than us, that they didn't cry over the temple enough. The stories we heard about of our grandparents and great-grandparents crying over the Beit HaMikdash. What? They didn't do enough? As if I'm better, in a better placement than them? So it's very hard to say that. What's the second explanation, which is more positive? That you have Jews who, because of their mourning attitude, were already living in their lifetime in this world in Mashiach mode. It's called Mashiach mode. They have the attitude of being calm, having balance, calmness, true simcha. It's called in Hebrew roga. To have roga, to have the person be calm. Most people are anxiety, depression, and stressed. Right? That's the opposite. That's not living calm, not having inner simcha. The inner simcha, while still in this world, even before Mashiach comes, can be accessible, can be reached. And this is the teaching of the sages, that a person who mourns over the temple will be zoche to see it's being rebuilt. Okay, we have some comments here. I'm trying to see what was said here. This person over here, why do you persist in saying that it is a tzaddik? Why don't we say it's your true deeper soul that's giving you energy and connection to God? So if that's the case, you don't need a tzaddik based on what you're saying. It's just you and Hashem. But Hashem did not design the Torah that way. Sorry. Hashem designed the Torah that it has to come through a beacon, through the tzaddikim. There is you and God. When you daven, there's God. We're not idolatry here. But you need a teacher. You need a teacher. To teacher, why? Because who says that you on your own and your personal connection, everything, who said it's being directed in the right way? Who said there's no idolatry and foreign ideologies connected to your emunah? You need Torah. Okay, you need Torah to direct your connection to God. Who's presenting to you the Torah? Who? The tzaddikim, the sages. They're the ones who are shaping a constriction that within that funnel, you can now develop your deep connection to God. So again, we persist. Sorry, Mr. Benzion Lehrer. If you have you're not so happy with the concept of the tzaddikim, you should study more religious sources, Torah sources on the greatness of the tzaddikim, how they are a must and a necessity. It's not just me and God. You need a tzaddik. It's not me and God and my art scroll, Daf Yomi Gemara, and that's it. You need tzaddikim in your life. Sorry. If you see people walking heavy and down, it's because of that lacking in their life. Okay? All right. Thank you very much. And Bezat Hashem, we should hear only good things and good tidings with the coming Mashiach very, very soon. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? We'll take time for that. All right. I think everything was clear. All the best, everybody. And we should have a major consolation, Bezat Hashem.